Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about equations of proportional relationships. So at this point we've talked about proportional and not proportional relationships and what those look like in tables, and now we're putting them into equations. So up at the top it says to express a proportional relationship using an equation, you must first calculate the constant of proportionality. So yesterday when we were looking at proportional relationships, that constant ratio, that's the constant of proportionality, also known as y over x. The equation of a proportional relationship is always in the form of y equals kx, where k is the constant of proportionality. Okay. When given a word problem, how do you determine the numerator and denominator of your constant of proportionality? So that's just like unit rate. So that's what we were covering before we covered proportional relationships. Y is the numerator. And x is the denominator. Oops. Okay, so we are going to look at some tables. We're going to determine whether or not the tables are proportional, and if they are, we're going to write an equation to represent the relationship. So the first thing we need to do is we need to label what our x values are and what our y values are. So in this case, x is our time, y is our miles. So we are looking at miles over hours, y over x. So if I set this up, I'm doing 65 divided by 1, 130 divided by 2, and 195 divided by 3. If we do the division each time, we would get 65. So we can see that this relationship is proportional, and that the equation would then be y equals 65x, because 65 is our constant ratio. All right, next one. So we're looking at pounds and cost. So pounds is our x, cost is our y. Once again, we're doing y over x. So we take $2.25, divide by 3 pounds, 450, divide by 6 pounds, and 675, divide by 9 pounds. When we do that division, we get 0.75, 75 cents. So that's our unit rate, showing that it's 75 cents per pound. So we can say that this is proportional, and our equation is y equals 0.75x. So that's saying for every pound, it's 75 cents per pound. All right, we have another hours and miles one. So hours again is our x, y is our miles. So I'm going to do 3 over 1/2, 4.5 over 3/4, and 9 over 1.5. So if I were to write all of this out and show all of my work, remember when we're dividing fractions, we're really multiplying by the reciprocal. And if we have mixed numbers, we need to change those to improper fractions. So what we would get each time if we did this division is we would get 6 as our constant ratio, or our constant of proportionality. So this is proportional, and the equation is y equals 6x. All right, flip the paper. Okay, so we have a word problem. So it says 2 pounds of cashews cost $5, 3 pounds of cashews cost $7.50, and 8 pounds of cashews cost $20. Show the relationship between the number of pounds of cashews and the cost. Show that it's a proportional relationship. Then write an equation that you could use to find the cost of 10 pounds of cashews. So let's make a T-chart. So pounds will be our x value, cost will be our Y value. So let's fill in the information that we know. 2 pounds of cashews cost $5. 3 pounds cost $7.50. And 8 pounds cost $20. I know they kind of jump from 3 to 8, but that's okay. So we need to prove that it is a proportional relationship. So I'm going to take my Y value and divide by my X value. So when I do that division, I get 2.5 or $2.50. I do 750 divided by 3, and I get the same thing. And then once again, 20 divided by 8, same thing. So each time we see that the constant ratio is 2.5, so it is proportional, and our equation would be y equals 2.5x, or if we put it in terms of the units in the problem, it's cost equals 2.5 times the pounds. It's always good to relate back to the units in your problem. Alright, so now we look at number 3. A cake recipe requires 3 1/4 cups of flour for 13 servings, 4 1/2 cups of flour for 18 servings. Write an equation showing the relationship between the amount of flour needed per serving of cake. Then determine how much flour is required to make a cake that serves 28. Oh, I realize we didn't finish this last part. Find the cost of 10 pounds of cashews. That's my bad, guys. So we're going to take our unit rate, or our constant of proportionality, of 2.5, and for this one, we multiply by 10. So we would get 25. Okay, so back to this one. We're going to set up a chart again. Okay, so we look at servings and flour. Serving is our X, flour is our Y. So I'm going to set it up. 13 servings is 3 1/4 cups. 18 servings is 4 1/2. And so we're looking at the relationship between those two. So if we set this up, we're going to do 3 1/4 divided by 13 and 4 1/2 divided by 18. So if we do this division, I'll show you how to do it real quick. So we need to take this mixed number and change it to an improper fraction. So to do that, we use that boomerang method. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1 is 13. We keep that denominator, and then we're dividing by 13 over 1. Remember, when we're dividing complex fractions, we're multiplying by the reciprocal. So 13 over 4 times 1 over 13. If we multiply straight across, you can do it that way. For me, I see that 13 cancels out, and I'm left with 1/4, which the decimal equivalent of 1/4 is 0.25. So that is our constant of proportionality. We would get the same thing if we did it here. For sake of time, I'm just going to quickly divide that out. So we get 1/4 or 0.25. Okay, so our equation would then be y equals 0.25x. And then to figure out how much flour is needed for 28 servings, we would plug in 28 servings to our equation, and we would get an answer of y equals 7. So we need 7 cups of flour. All right, last one, guys. Okay, Jeremy is saving money from a tutoring job. After the first 3 weeks, he saved $135. Assume the situation is proportional. Write an equation relating the amount saved to the number of weeks worked. At this rate, how much will Jeremy save after 8 weeks? Okay, we're going to make another T-chart. We could fill it in. I know they only give us one. So for 3 weeks, we know that he saved $135. So this is weeks, and this is dollars. Based on that, we should be able to figure out what he works for just one. So if we take the dollars and we divide by the number of weeks, we would get 45. So for 1 week, he made $45. For 2 weeks, he then would make $90. So our constant of proportionality is 45. Our equation would be y equals 45x. And then the question at the end, how much will Jeremy save after 8 weeks? We will take what we know in our equation and we will plug in 8 weeks. So we're going to take 45, plug in 8, and we will get an amount of $360. So he will make $360 after 8 weeks. All right. If you guys have any questions, please write them down on your whisk and make sure you complete the Google form that goes along with this. We'll see you tomorrow.